photosynthesis, condensation, precipitation, evaporation, anticipation.
Right, so the water cycle, where you see rain from above with the precipitation, it will rain down on the earth, and then if I remember correctly, I don't know what happens after that.
The water cycle would be involving rain and the way that it nourishes the earth and the plants, and then like condensation or evaporation may be involved, something like that. I have no idea, I'm sorry.
Evaporation.
Condensation.
Precipitation.
Possibly runoff.
Runoff.
Groundwater.
Ocean storage, evaporation, condensation, precipitation. That's it.
Evaporation, condensation, precipitation on my head. I don't remember the rest of the song.
So the water cycle is when you take you go kind of depart from the traditional wheel filled with air on a bicycle. You instead take water and you fill up the classic rubber tire, fill it with water, and you fill it up to a pretty buoyant point, to the point that you can support a bike on wheels filled with water. And so you ride around on these bicycles with the tires that are filled with water, and this is what we refer to as the water cycle.
So if I had to explain the water cycle, I'm not totally sure what context he's thinking of, but if I had to say, I would guess it's like the rain and evaporation cycle of the clouds laying down rain into puddles which evaporate back into the clouds, and it's a continuous cycle of water.
Okay, so there's water in the clouds. It falls down as rain or precipitation, comes to the ground, then gets mixed around somehow, evaporates back up into the air, back into the clouds.
So the water cycle works like this. First you got all these big bodies of water, lakes, oceans, seas, rivers, and through this process called evaporation, the water comes down here and goes into the sky and makes these things called clouds. There's many different types of clouds, cumulonimbus clouds, a bunch of them. And once these clouds get full, they rain down with water, this thing called precipitation, with hail, rain, sleet, different things like that. And there's also a couple other factors. Condensation happens like once you get out of the shower and you look in the mirror, and there's condensation all over the mirror. And then there's runoffs that come down from leading smaller streams into rivers and lakes. There's all these big factors of the water cycle, but the two main things are evaporation and precipitation.
In the atmosphere, water vapor can form drops, which become clouds when suspended in the air. When these drops fall to the ground, they become known as precipitation. Once precipitation reaches the surface, the water can coat rocks and soils, causing them to erode. The water can also sink into the ground, traveling through cracks in rocks and soils, where it becomes known as groundwater. The groundwater usually flows toward lower areas, in addition to the water on the surface flowing downhill in streams. Once the water has flown downward, it collects in large bodies of water called oceans. The water then evaporates from the surface of the ocean, as well as from other surface waters on land and from soils and plants. Evaporation returns water to the atmosphere, completing the water cycle.